Popular things is that's one theory. The other theory is because there used to be some hives on the land that was used to make the original Griffin Park. So it's
Right.
one of
Okay.
those things though that's gone back so far that no one's actually sure of the real story of why we are. But a lot of it seems to be that we just got nicknamed the Bees because yes, Brentford starts with a letter B.
Are you finding any other way to justify it? Yeah, so obviously this one, the scoreline, was padded out a little by those two Jake Bibby tries late on, so it looks like it was a much more even game than that. But Salford were controlling it. They led at half time. They led throughout. They were never behind in the game, so it doesn't look like they were ever under much threat from a Huddersfield side that's underperforming. So it's good to see that some of the young players coming in. You know, Innes Senior grabbed his third try.
And
And obviously Matty English, who they've recalled from Dewsbury, is a young prop forward, getting a go, and obviously impressing Mark. So that's great.
yeah, and Salford, yeah, as you say, just the little plucky battlers just keep going. And again, as same with you, I'm quite impressed that they are just showing that resilience.
Yeah, it's the engine of that side around, unspectacular players like Kopchak, like Mossop, and like Flanagan. Flanagan's just, I think, been exceptional when I've seen them play this year. So I assume he was an important part in this because it feels like he must be. Because he's kind of they win when he plays. They do not win when he doesn't play.
Yeah.
And they won away from home. So good for the travelling contingent in that 4,000 people. So, stats. Salford's stats were better than Huddersfield across the board in this game. Fewer errors, 9-14, and fewer penalties conceded, 9-12, with the Giants having high numbers in both damaging their chances. The referee was the reason why, though. 9
Clearly,
breaks to
yep.
2, 128 more metres, 18 more tackle busts, and 6 more successful offloads. Shows a comprehensive attacking win, and 3.7% better team tackle success rate shows Salford were also defensively the better side in this game. So stats say Salford should have won by the sort of margin that they won by. Individually, Jake Bibby grabbed his 2 tries late on, 111 metres, 3 clean breaks. Convicted spousal abuser got 1 try assist, 10 tackle busts, 136 metres and 2 clean breaks. Tackle bust using his aggression in the right way. Greg Johnson, another one with a sketchy pass, 128 metres. The ladies of Huddersfield know all about that. And Junior South, 6 tackle busts, 113 metres. So impressive again, Junior South, one of the guys getting the plaudits as he regularly does in the Salford outfit. For the losing Huddersfield side, only a couple tipped the stat sheet in the way that we look, and it was Jordan Turner with just 101 metres was the only player over 100 for them, and Cruz Leeming with 40 tackles was the person who put in the biggest shift defensively for the Giants. So lots to work on there for Foreman. I hope he can get it right, because I certainly think there's promise in there, because he's brought through some players that definitely are showing that they can do bits at the senior level. So it's waiting to see to get all that gelling together and getting a halfback combination that actually does something for the side. So
well, it's an opportunity now. If Danny Bruff's going to be out for a minimum of 3 games, if not more, it's an opportunity for them to cement a partnership that's going to work for them, isn't it? And then it's going to ask a longer term question of whether he comes back into the side and how he fits in.
They need to find something there that'll work as a combination, that's for sure. Okay, let's move on to maybe the most exciting game of Sunday's slate. In fact, definitely the most exciting game. It was Wakefield 24, St Helens 20 in front of 5,231. Gareth Hewer was the referee in this one. And do you want to start on the fan reviews?
Yep, Frogmore said, Percy scoring off the first set made me think it's going to be one of those games. It didn't take long for Wakey to penetrate some ordinary defence to peg a try back, and another, and yet another. It put Saints on the back foot quite quickly. Half-time couldn't come quick enough. Both sides shored up defence in the second half, which meant the points leaking stopped, but the attempted comeback harder. Can't win them all. Upset face emoji, and then I've just got a square.
Yeah, it must be one that that word doesn't read. Yeah, it was 22-14 at half-time, so only 10 points then scored in that second half. So he picks up on a good point there, does Froggers. Wakey White said, finally a win for Wakey against the team we were least likely to beat. Masterclass from Riesling and some quality defence won us the game. Particularly enjoyed Randall removing Lomax's head to save a certain try. Took one for the team there.
Well, that's why.
Yeah,
if Lomax is going to wear
that, didn't he?
If Lomax is going to wear a scrum cap, he's got to expect it. If backs wear scrum caps, they can expect high shots. I'm sorry, that's the rules.
I think it's not.
It should be,
but it's good to see. It's good to see foul play getting punished with a yellow card, I would say. Just as it's good to see foul language at match officials
yes,
getting punished with yellow cards and red cards too. Mark Percival's picked up a grade A1 matcher. Do you want to finish with St David's review?
Yep, St David's said that Wakey had us on toast down the left edge. The ruck and defensive lines were a complete mess all game, but Wakey adjusted better to Hewer's interpretation. Good choice of words there. Still would have won with better composure, and if Wakey hadn't fouled to stop 2 certain tries, ho-hum.
Yeah, so we're training David up well there, aren't we? That's a diplomatic way to put it. They're obviously Gareth Hewer not being a full-time ref. Maybe there's an impact there on what he lets go on at the ruck and the speed of the game and that stuff. Possibly is what David might be suggesting there. In terms of foul play stopping tries, I'm almost certain Saints made a title out of giving away penalties in their own 10. But yeah, it sounds like Wakefield were punished for the foul play, but not punished on the scoreboard. So I haven't seen many highlights, actually. I haven't had a chance to watch the full highlights of these Sunday games. So all I have seen is Bill Tupu's swatting away of Danny Richardson like he was just a pesky little insect, and then barging through another 3 that worked towards his 9 tackle bust that he managed. I think he got half of them probably on that one try scoring carry alone. He continues to impress me. He was on the wing in this one, with a few players being dropped for sort of performance reasons, Chris Chester said. Obviously St Helens without James Roby, big difference for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a surprise in some respects that James Roby is going to be a dent in any side, but they don't have a natural someone who can slot in quite as easily. You're always going to miss him, but they don't have sort of the natural foil or backup that's going to cover him in the way that other teams perhaps might have, because everything is built round him, understandably. But
I looked at the stats, and one of the stats that jumped out was the lack of dummy half runs. I think there was about 7 in the whole game from St Helens, which Roby normally clears 7 himself. So obviously that directness, that speed of the play, that gets them onto a good position. And when you've got skillful, talented players like Barber and Percival who create everything that this Saints side seem to put up for people to battle against, but they're still able to do that. But they're not getting it. But maybe they're not doing it from quite as far up the field, or from quite as quick plays, because Roby gets them such great service either with his own darts or with the speed he gets the ball into the right person's hands. So
and the classic James Roby play is always, the left and right. He does one dummy half run, gets a quick play of the ball, which then leads someone else to come in and just opens up that space for them to back off the other side, isn't it? It's that quick, and then before you know it, he's made 20 metres off one play.
Exactly. So let's assume that was a factor in this one for St Helens, but you can't take it away from Trinity. They've ended their losing run. They've ended their sort of inability to pick up a result against the top sides in the table by beating the side at the top. It sounds like Riesling had an absolute cracker alongside Bill Tupu on the other side. So in those outside backs this year, those two in particular have been in the stats roundup pretty much every week. They're absolutely performing at the top of the game, and we're talking about dream team selections before. I know Bill Tupu played on the wing in this one, and he's had another game on the wing earlier in the year, but every week he's putting in the goods for this Wakefield side, and so did Reece Lynn. So they would have to be in that conversation with Griffin and Percival in the dream team situation for those centres spots if we were doing a mid-term dream team, which we could have done if we'd have spoke about it, because it was the midpoint of the season. Well, next week
we might have more, more time.
More time
More time because of the Challenge Cup. Yeah, should we do that next week?
That's me and you next week.
It is,
again?
yeah.
We'll do that next week. Yeah, send in your midterm dream teams, kids, and we'll go through those next week. Okay, that's a good one. And have you got anything else to say on this? I haven't.
No, that's pretty much all. I only saw the highlights of it very briefly just before coming on, so that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously, the fact that Wakefield are able to rotate and use and drop people on performance reasons, I mean, that says everything about the depth of their squad, doesn't it? That they've got a real squad this year that they can do that with, because you wouldn't have been able to do that a couple of years ago.
No. Okay, so errors and discipline appear to have been costly for the Saints as they lose away for the first time this year. Saints made 15 errors to Wakey's 7 and conceded 10 penalties to Wakey's 7. A 50% goal success rate didn't help either, not Danny Richardson's best day with the boot. Other than those stats, the numbers would have had Saints winning, actually. 203 more metres, 10 breaks to 6, more busts, more offloads, better team tackle success by 3%. So obviously it was the fact that Saints kept dropping the ball that really hurt them in this one. So that's a shame for them, but pleasing for Wakefield that they were able to show resilience to win this one. Individually, Justin Horrow got a special mention in the post-match from his coach Chris Chester. He got a try in 138 metres. Bill Tupu gets special mention from me. That's a try for him. 9 tackles, 218 metres, 3 clean breaks. Reese Lynn had a try in 109 metres. Matty Ashurst, big, strong defensive effort from Matty Ashurst. 48 tackles, no missed tackles from him. For Saints, kind of the names you come accustomed to seeing. Mark Percival, 2 tries, 9 tackle busts, 118 metres, 4 clean breaks. Tommy Makinson, a try, 6 tackle busts, 148 metres, 3 successful offloads. And I think Saints maybe thought something might have been on when Makinson and Percival scored those tries to finish out the first half, because but it wasn't to be. Luke Thompson, 136 metres, so two games in a row now that he looks back to his form. John Wilkin sneaks in 121 metres for the old fella.
You had to spoil it, didn't you? It was all going so well, and then you had to mention him.
Well, let's move on to the next game then, and avert your ears if you're a Catalan supporter listening to this podcast, because it was Castleford 41, Catalan 0. If you're wondering where that 1-pointer came, Luke Gale kicked it just before half-time. It was 19-0 at half-time. 7,137 on at the family fun day down the jungle. Scott Mikilauskas was the referee in this one. And do you want to start with a fan review?
Yep, so at Adam Colney 87, a solid defensive display laid the platform for a Luke Gale kicking masterclass in the first half, with all 3 tries being assisted by his boot. Deciding to put in a second half performance for the first time this season, Cass continued to dominate, scoring some nice free-flowing tries. Signs of the Tigers from 2017 were on show, and it was very satisfying to get the nil. P.S. Catalan were gash! Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Mal Matias said, nilled again, bad recruitment karma, too much ex-Wigan dross, and we're getting another. By the way, no more coaches who speak English, especially crap ones.
Well, I think they can speak English, that's okay. It's just, how they choose to deploy it in their coaching thing. And one final...
I'd say no more non-bilingual English-speaking coaches.
I mean, that was the big thing for... when Robinson was there, wasn't it, that he introduced training in French?
And even back when they first started as well, there was a French feel to the way everything was set up, in the way it was ran, yeah. And who we left with?
Yeah, Fatboy Rob said, Catalan are piss poor. We could still be playing at midnight and the champions would still not have conceded. Well, Leeds weren't playing on Sunday. They all played well and Luke Gale ran the game. I lost count of how many kicks his led to tries. Liam Watts is loving playing for a big club and never took a backward step. The scoreline flattered Catalan. Did I mention they are piss poor? Yes, you did.
Yeah, and I mean, I've read that Paul McShane scored some fancy tries in this one. He did. Gale set up a few tries, as well as that. Ben Roberts set up a try as well. So those two, getting those two back in the halves together, I think has revitalised Castleford a little bit.
And Paul McShane certainly was running on his first try. It was running the classic Leeds-esque supporting line. One of them's someone's kicking the ball and someone's just on hand to poach the ball. It just pops up, bang, thank you very much. It was very Danny Maguire-esque, kind of just right in the right place, absolutely knew exactly where he needed to stand. Thank you very much. That's a try. Cash in.
Yeah, and his second try was a bit of a wraparound play with Adam Milner, who managed to avoid too many disciplinary problems in an easy game. So that was good for Castleford. I mean, for Catalan, I get baffled by the team selection regularly. I'm not sure if Willie Army's picked up a knock, but David Mead came into playing the centres with Turney getting back in the side at fullback. I don't understand why. The only bright thing that you'd had going in the last few weeks really was